Zeus, called the King of Kings. He is the head of the Pantheon, the most powerful entity in the Greek mythological cosmos. He is obviously a head of the Greek Pantheon, called the King of Kings, simply the Father, or the King of Heaven, among many other names for this very, very well-known deity. He was associated most closely with lightning, but was also a deity who represented the sky and weather, which would be very important aspects of his personality. He was a true patron god who was venerated from approximately 3500 BCE and is still actively venerated to this day in many forms, and has perhaps grown in popularity where many other ancient gods have disappeared or been gone by the wayside. He is of course associated with the Greek gods, and most specifically his pantheon, which were the Olympians. He is the son of the deity Kronos. His wife is the very powerful Greek deity who is called Hera, and his son is the very famous hero Herkules. His weapons include the thunderbolt, which is the symbol of power at the highest level. In every pantheon, this is typically a power reserved for the most powerful and most important of their grouping. And in Greek mythology or Greek religion, his role as the chief deity in the pantheon, particularly a sky god and a weather god, associated him very closely with the Roman deity called Jupiter, and in some ways Thor or Donar of Norse Greek mythologies, and very similar to Indra, who we would see emerge from the Indus River Valley civilizations. And according to the oldest Greek mythologies that were adopted by the Greek, Kronos was a great king of the Titans and ruled all the cosmos. But he heard of a prophecy that one day one of his children would supplant him, would dethrone him, much as the regular cycle of mortals' life. But for immortals, this was not a fate he wanted. So he began to swallow each of his children as they were born in order to defeat that prophecy that would end his reign as king. But his wife Rhea grew angry with him and wanted to save her children. And after he had consumed many, she saved the very last one, who was the infant Zeus, and substituted him with a stone wrapped in swaddling cloth. And Kronos swallowed that and was satiated, thinking that he had eaten this last-born child. But she secreted him away, and he was nursed by a nymph on a secret island just off of Crete, protected by young warriors who clashed their weapons to disguise the baby's cries, which were the cries of a young god, from the ears of his ever-vigilant father. After Zeus grew into manhood, he led a great revolt against the Titans and succeeded with the help of his many siblings and the previous children of Kronos, including the 100-handers who had been exiled. And they established a new pantheon, and he divided up the cosmos between his two brothers. Hades would rule the underworld, Poseidon would rule the seas, while Zeus would sit at the head of the pantheon in heaven on the throne of Olympus. And as the ruler of heaven, Zeus led the gods to many victories against the giants who were their sworn enemies. These were the children of Gaia, and were for the most part subject to living in Tartarus. And they would crush several subsequent rebellions against the deities. According to the Greek poet Homer, heaven was located on the summit of Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece, and which was the logical home for a weather god. And all the other deities lived there with him, and were all subject to the will of the most powerful of them. From this high exalted position on Mount Olympus, Zeus was thought to observe all, to know all the workings of men, and to be able to have influence on all the things that governed our lives. And besides dispensing justice, Zeus was a protector of the cities, the home, the property, the strangers, the guests, and all the supplicants, a role that he took very seriously as a protector. And Zeus also showed many very human flaws. He was known to be quite amorous, which was a source of discord with his wife, who herself was a deity who represented marriage. He had many affairs with both mortal and immortal women, and produced many notable offspring, including the twins Apollo and Artemis by the Titaness Leto, the Greek beauty Helen and Dioscuri, who were by Leda of Sparta, Persephone, who would be the wife of Hades, he fathered by the goddess Demeter. The powerful Athena was born from his head as he swallowed the Titaness Metis. Hephaestus, Hebes, Ares were all by his wife Hera, Dionysus by the god Semele, but there were countless other gods and demigod children that were the product of this most potent of gods. He is known now almost through his offspring in many ways. He is kept alive in myths, not only in movies about him himself, but also his son Herkules, who became a great influence on mankind, seen as one of the greatest heroes to walk the earth, and much has been made of his 12 labors. But also through his lesser son, who would be Perseus, who would carry the mantle of the slayer of Medusa, the great Gorgon, who the great terror of mankind. It is because of this that Zeus has remained one of the most well-known and venerated deities of all time, escaping the past of the ancient world, where he was written in tablets and books, to the modern screen and modern tellings, as people show an obsession almost with the power associated with the lightning and the virility of a deity who was known to have many consorts and mates, and to produce almost a pantheon of deities on his own. We make great associations with him and Jupiter, but also with Thor and Indra, and it is through study of these that perhaps we find out more about this representation of Zeus and why he has endured for so long while many others have been forgotten by us through history. Thank you again for stopping at 9 World Chronicles. As always, we ask that you like and subscribe.